sized properly for my little dainty wrist. Hello, how are you? God, you're so sexy. Hey guys, it's Cam with Craft and Tailored, and this episode of What Is On My Wrist, we're talking about an amazing Rolex Datejust reference 1601 from 1960. This one is unlike a lot of the other Datejusts that we've talked about because this one is in 18 karat rose gold. These babies are rare, they're elusive, and this specific example is just, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? This example is not only rare because it's in killer condition, it's also on an Oyster Bracelet, but the real rarity factor here is that it is 18 karat rose gold. So we've had a lot of Datejusts on the channel before. They're one of our favorite Rolex references to talk about, but coming across an example in rose gold is pretty rare. This one was and is in exceptional condition. It's also on an 18 karat rose gold Oyster Bracelet. Had to feature it, had to talk about it. So what's kind of interesting about watch collecting, especially for me, you know, you go after certain grails and things like that based on my experience. And then what you start to do is you find beauty in things and exclusive in things that are seemingly simple. For example, like a Rolex reference 1601 Datejust in steel or in gold can be something that is more basic in terms of collecting, but to come across an example that possesses that extra little uplift in terms of the gold composition or the condition or something like that, I think is really what makes this element of collecting for me in my stage of collecting and acquisition of pieces like this that much more fun and interesting. For example, this watch was produced in 1960. It's got radium on the dial. It has key elements that you would only see in that era that makes it, yes, a basic 1601. Yes, it's maybe produced in a pink or a rose gold, which makes it exclusive, but there are other elements that I see in this piece, even from a condition perspective, that I think are becoming ultimately hard to find and ultimately rare onto themselves. Yes, it's a Datejust, but there is a ton of exclusivity and rarity and collectability and interestingness, if that's a word, in this watch, and that's why I thought it was worthy of some additional discussion. The thing that I think is really cool about rose gold with Rolex is that it's very commonplace today. Rolex is producing everything in rose. Also, I'm not sure if I'm the biggest fan of the composition of rose gold that they're actually producing. It's very, very ostentatiously pink color, which I'm not really the biggest fan of. You guys might be, I don't know, let me know. What do you think about Rolex's rose gold? Whereas rose gold in the 60s and into the 70s was very exclusive. It was most often produced for the South American market because rose gold was favored in South America as opposed to Europe and the United States that ultimately wanted things in white gold or in many cases 14 or 18K yellow gold. So the production of rose in this era for Rolex was kind of special, which makes this interesting to me. The other thing that I think is really cool is, like, if we look at the dial itself, there's kind of these ornate elements to the dial that I don't really think you see in a lot of other Datejusts out of the era and or in the reference 1601, which I think makes this worthy of featuring on the channel. If you look at the 6 and the 9 o'clock marker on this dial, you kind of have like these ornately decorated markers at the 6 and the 9 o'clock, which obviously provides a breakup and a point of reference at the 6 and the 9. But then, you know, all the other markers are like these amazingly faceted arrow markers that accent the dagger hands. So I think there is a lot of kind of interesting details of this watch that, you know, make it unique and obviously worthy of some time on the wrist. The other thing that I love about this specific watch is that it's on an Oyster Bracelet. And surprisingly, a lot of bracelets that were produced, I think, for the South American market in this time period were Oyster as opposed to being a Jubilee or even like a President bracelet. We've had a couple of really cool rose gold Rolex 1803s out of the same era that were produced for the South American market in like a pink gold or a rose gold. And I don't know if it was just favored by maybe the South American market, but you see a lot of them on Oyster bracelets as opposed to President bracelets or Jubilees, which makes this really interesting. The other thing that's really interesting is that the bracelet bracelet is what we would call a big logo. So you have this big coronet on the back side of the bracelet, or the clasp rather. And then also within the blades of the clasp, you have this large Rolex filigree in here. So you have this large logo that kind of fills up the blades of the clasp. Whereas if you look at a lot of the stuff that was being produced for the American markets, you have this smaller Rolex filigree that is in the blades of the clasp. So there's like details on details on details here. The condition of this watch is just phenomenal. This is a perfect case study of what a 1601 in rose should look like from this era. Another interesting thing to note is that the case does not have lug holes. The bracelet would need to be removed from the back, but if we look at the 76 end pieces here, we have these slots in the back of the end piece, which would allow for a spring bar tool to get in there to pull the spring bar out. So really interesting watch altogether. Beautiful. The watch is from 1960. The bracelet is from 1960. I don't think the watch was ultimately worn that much based on the condition that we find it in here. And the dial kind of has like this nice charming patina without being, again, kind of ostentatious. The dial is silver, but the rose gold markers are really able to shine and present themselves off of the dial because we kind of have that contrast and composition with a silver dial and rose gold markers. So the condition of this watch is awesome, very wearable. I think that the watch was produced as more of a luxury item. Obviously 1601s and Datejusts being kind of the entry level watch for Rolex in this period in time, being mass majority of them produced in steel. This one being produced in pink gold or rose gold is very cool and special, but I kind of like wearing it in more of a casual setting. That's how I'd wear this watch. So the real reason for the video is, one, to kind of showcase this amazing example of something that is seemingly simple but really complex and not. The other thing too is I think one of the things that I get a lot in advising our clients is, I don't know if I would ever wear gold or rose gold or whatever. I actually have found myself wearing a lot of gold, not just because it's becoming more collectible, but I think I have a different way of wearing it and I kind of wanted to share that with you. I actually wear gold in more of a casual way. I would wear a watch like this in, leather jacket and jeans. I think that's kind of the fun thing about the day and age that we live in, is you can have something that was once built as like this luxury item, being very exclusive, produced in a precious metal, but ultimately now kind of wear it in much more of a casual way, which I think makes this stuff a little bit more functional, especially this piece being that it's on an oyster. You still kind of have that fluting of the bezel, which kind of makes it a little bit sparkly, but you also kind of have that almost rugged utilitarianness of an oyster rivet bracelet that kind of makes this more functional. So it was worthy of some time on the wrist. Really excited about this example. Had to share it with you because I don't know if we'll get another one like this, especially in this condition. In any case, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. That really helps out the channel. If you've got watch questions, we're here to help. Drop us a line at info@craftandtailored.com. Be sure to follow us on Instagram @craftandtailored, and I will see you guys in the next one. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?